Hey, it's Richie with your Fan of Football 813 YouTube channel with your Week 7 reviews, college football reviews. I went on a rant earlier today. Go check that video out. Let's just jump into this. There's a whole bunch of awesome upsets and nerve-wracking games and heartbreaking games and just all kinds of stuff. So let's jump back with a weird Tuesday game going back. Appalachian State Mountaineers take on the Arkansas State Red Wolves. It was a game for a little bit, but Appalachian State ran away with it. They won 35-9. Their quarterback Zach Thomas, he was 12 of 27 for 144, 2 touchdowns, no picks, which is okay, but he ran for 76 yards and a touchdown. Their backup running back Darrington Evans came in and ran for 115 yards and a touchdown because their starting running back Jalen Moore, who's one of the better ones in Appalachian State history, he actually got hurt and is having season-ending ankle surgery, so he's gonna be out. Arkansas State, they just couldn't do much. Their quarterback Justice Hansen, who's a really good quarterback, he had 3 interceptions, didn't really have a whole lot going, and Appalachian State ran away with that. On Thursday, the Georgia Southern Eagles took on the Texas State Bobcats, and Georgia Southern, they've had a good offense. They're a triple option kind of team. They have a really good rushing offense. They started 4-1 this year. They're taking on Texas State, who is 1-4, not looking great. It was actually a really close game. So Georgia Southern did win they won 15-13. So they're doing well themselves, but it was just a lot closer game. Texas State's defense actually showed up, and their offense put a little bit together late to make it a game, but they couldn't come all the way back. So Georgia Southern is one win away from bowl eligibility for that. Our next game, Texas Tech Red Raiders and TCU Horned Frogs. This was a really close game like I figured, but it wasn't high scoring like I thought it'd be. Texas Tech, they won 17-14. TCU had an 8-game home winning streak snapped. And I think I'd pick Texas Tech because the quarterback for TCU, Sean Robbins, he was up and down, and I didn't trust him, and that's kind of what happened. He threw for 290, 2 touchdowns, but he had 2 picks as well. They had Cavante Turpin, who's a really good return guy at test receivers, had 6 catches for 120 yards and a touchdown. But Texas Tech, they did just enough in their passing game. Jet Duffy came in. Alan Bowman was hurt. Jet Duffy came in, passed for 190, touchdown, a pick. They ran for 151 yards as a team, which they're not really known for running. They usually pass it, but they did enough to win that game. All right, going to Friday, the trio on Friday. USF Bulls took on the Tulsa Golden Hurricane. USF was ranked, and they were in a dogfight. And I kind of thought it might be close, but I didn't think it'd be, what happened. Let's just say Tulsa was up 24-10 in the 4th quarter. USF scores a touchdown. They get their extra point blocked, so then they're only down 24-16. But that means they'd have to score a touchdown or 2-point. USF holds Tulsa, gets the ball back. They go down and score, but they can't get the 2 points. So they're down 24-22. And basically, there's I think there's just around 2 minutes left in the game. They hold Tulsa. They get the ball back with about 1:09. They hit a couple passes downfield. They hit one 40-yard pass to get inside the 3 with 5 seconds left. And then USF wins a game-winning field goal to win 25-24. It was a nerve-wracking game, and it kind of started off the weekend at least for Florida teams coming from behind, and they were down 14 and came back and won. For Tulsa, they have a really good running game. They ran for 220 yards, which is kind of what I highlighted during the preview. Shamari Brooks had 100 yards on 28 carries and 2 touchdowns. For USF, Blake Barnett did not play a very good game at quarterback in terms of passing. It was he did run for two touchdowns, but his passing was 17 of 39. He threw a pick. It wasn't great. But it was the Jordan Cronkrite show again. 25 carries, 151 yards, and a touchdown, a 66-yard touchdown run. And that one, now that USF, so the win anyway has allowed USF to extend their streak. Now they've scored 20 or more points in 36 straight games, and that also extends Tulsa's streak of losing 15 in a row to unranked teams. So the next game on Friday was between let's say Air Force and San Diego State, and I thought this might be close. I think I picked Air Force, which this is where the stats hurt me. Like when I was breaking down all the stats, everything leaned in favor of Air Force, even though San Diego State had the better record. I know San Diego State has they have the better coach, they have the better team, but just based on the stats, I went Air Force. But San Diego State won a close game, 21-17. Air Force had a safety in the game. San Diego State had a blocked punt return for a touchdown. So it was about the kind of game that I thought it would be. There not a whole lot to say offensively. It was just a slugfest running. The quarterback for San Diego State, he was 9 of 25, but they were for 213 yards as 9 completions, and they won that. The last Friday game was Utah taking on Arizona Wildcats, and it was all Utah. Utah won 42-10. It wasn't even close. Khalil Tate for Arizona, the quarterback, was injured in the game. Utah, their quarterback Tyler Huntley had a great game. He was 14-19 for 201 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick, and he ran for 64 yards and a touchdown. And he actually caught he had a 58-yard touchdown catch. So he did it in every way possible. Utah, known as Sack Lake City, they had 5 sacks in the game. It was just domination by Utah. All right, going to the Saturday games. Alabama took on Missouri, and Alabama does what Alabama does, and they won 39-10. It was actually close for a minute. It was like 13-10 at one point, but then Alabama rolled from there. Tua Tagovailoa, he was 12 of 22, which is not very. His completion percentage was tied for first nationally. It's over 75%. So that's well below that, but it went for 265 yards, 3 touchdowns, and no picks. And by the way, he has yet to take a snap in the fourth quarter of any game this season. So that just kept going. They had 2 guys over 100 yards receiving. Jerry Jeudy, 3 catches, 147 yards and a touchdown, and an 81-yard touchdown reception on the second play of the game. Devontae Smith, 4 catches, 100 yards, and a touchdown. Missouri, like I said, they kept it close for a little bit, but it was all Bama. Next game. All right, beginning with one of the upsets of the day. I will boast. I called this. LSU killed Georgia, number 3 Georgia. LSU was ranked 13th. They beat them 36-16, and it wasn't even that close, really. LSU quarterback, he was 15 of 30, 200 yards. That's pretty much what he does. He just completes like half of his passes. But when you run for 275 yards as a team, good things can happen. And himself, Joe Burrow, he ran for 66 yards and had 2 rushing touchdowns. Clyde Edwards-Helaire ran for 145 yards and a touchdown. Justin Jefferson had 6 catches, 108 yards. He held down Georgia's normally potent rushing offense to only 113 yards rushing, and it was all LSU, and they vaulted up the rankings. The Ohio State Buckeyes, they were in a bit of a fight themselves against the Minnesota Golden Gophers. It was back and forth for a while. Minnesota was up a little bit, 14-10 at one point. And in the fourth quarter, it was only 23-14, and then Ohio State hit a pass later on in the game, and they won 30-14. So the 16-point win was a little misleading. It's actually a lot closer than that for a lot of the game. But quarterback for Ohio State, Dwayne Haskins, just he should be he's front runner for Heisman in my opinion. He was 33 of 44, 412 yards, 3 touchdowns. He didn't turn it over. KJ Hill had one of the best catches you'll see all year. He had 9 receptions for 187 yards and 2 touchdowns. I'll shout out Minnesota as well. Muhammad Ibrahim at running back ran for 157 yards and 2 touchdowns. Tyler Johnson, one of the top receivers in the country, oddly enough, for Minnesota, he had 8 catches, 119 yards, but it wasn't enough to win. All right, another almost upset. This day was littered with upsets, and close calls for everybody around. Number 5, Notre Dame took on Pittsburgh Panthers, and they only won 19-14. They were down 14-12 most of that game. Ian Book, the quarterback, brought him back later in the game to score, and then they held him down. He was 26 of 32 for 264 and 2 touchdowns. It was a good completion percentage, but he did throw 2 picks that kept Pittsburgh in the game. Pittsburgh, they had a kick return for a touchdown that helped, and their defense played really well. They had 3 sacks as a team, but Notre Dame was able to survive. And like I said, with all the upsets that happened this weekend, just surviving was good enough. And that leads into another big upset of the weekend. West Virginia was ranked 6th, and they faced unranked Iowa State. And unranked Iowa State killed them 30-14. It was not. They were 20-7 at one point. Iowa State was kicking a field goal. It got blocked return for a touchdown. That's how West Virginia got to 14. ISU held Virginia to 375 yards below their average. Will Grier had a terrible game. He was 11 of 15, 100 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. They only ran for 52 yards as a team. Iowa State had 7 sacks in the game. Their freshman quarterback, again, second week in a row, he was phenomenal. 18 of 25, 254, 3 touchdowns. He did throw a pick, and he added 39 yards rushing. David Montgomery, who's been a really good back for them in the last few years. He's kind of been injured, but he's a 1,000-yard back as well. He went off 189 yards rushing and a touchdown. Hakeem Butler, 6 catches, 107 and a touchdown. And Iowa State got a huge win in that, dropping number 6 West Virginia way back. The game of the day, in my opinion, one of them anyway, Washington Huskies, number 7, in another upset. They lost to number 17 Oregon Ducks, and this one went right to overtime. It's one of those few times when a game actually met the expectations. Let's start with the losing side. Jake Browning, 15 of 25, 243, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. The running backs were kind of injured a little bit. Miles Gaskin was injured. Saad Ahmed was a little bit injured, but they still ran for 194 as a team. Quarterback for Oregon, Justin Herbert, 18 of 32, 202, 2 touchdowns, 0 picks. CJ Verdell, he had a redemption from when he fumbled late against Stanford a few weeks ago. That led to that loss. Well, he had the game-winning touchdown in overtime. They won 30-27 in overtime. C.J. Verdell had 29 carries, 111 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Dylan Mitchell, 8 catches, 119 and a touchdown. Oregon's really, really good. They're 5-1, and who knows, they could be up for maybe a playoff spot later if they just keep winning on out. Another upset, it's the theme of the day, I'm telling you guys. Michigan State, unranked, beat number 8 Penn State, and they beat them 21-17. It was a dogfight. Michigan State went for a whole bunch of things a bunch of times, 4th downs, trick plays, and some of it worked, some didn't, and it was enough to get the win. Brian Lewerke at quarterback, he wasn't great percentage-wise, 24 of 52, 259, but he had the 2 touchdowns and 1 late to Felton Davis III, who had 8 catches, 100 yards, 2 touchdowns, the 2 touchdown catches, and 1 for the winning score. Trace McSorley, he didn't have a bad game himself. He actually became the passing leader in Penn State history, but Miles Sanders was sort of all they had. He ran for 162 yards and a touchdown. But Michigan State, they had the upset. I'm telling, it's just littered with upsets on the day. And another close upset, or almost upset, Baylor was taking on number 9 Texas, and I picked Baylor to win. And Texas won, but only 23-17, and Baylor had 3 shots from Texas' 17-yard line with like 15 seconds to go in the game. They just could not get it in. Charlie Brewer, the quarterback, he's a good player, man. He's 20 of 39, 240, touchdown, a pick. But he brought him almost all the way back against Texas. Sam Ehlinger, the quarterback for Texas, he actually got hurt instead of Shane Buechele. He was okay, 20 of 34, 184, 1 touchdown, a pick. Keontae Ingram had 19 carries, 110 yards. Excuse me. Colin Johnson, really good wide receiver for Texas, had 11 catches, 132 yards, and a touchdown, as Texas was able to survive. And that was like I said, that was the key of the day, just survive and advance. One of the most nerve-wracking games of the day. The UCF Knights, ranked 10th in the country on a 19-game winning streak, took on the Memphis Tigers and the nation's leading rusher in Darrell Henderson. And Memphis went off in the first half. This was the it's cliche tale of two halves, but that was it. UCF's defense could not stop Memphis at all in the first half. Darrell Henderson had well over 100 yards rushing in the first half. Memphis had like 370 yards in the first half. The score at one point, UCF was down 30-14 in the first half, and they got a late field goal. There's a whole lot of crazy happening. First, they missed the field goal right before halftime, but Memphis called the timeout right as he was kicking it, or right at the snap, basically. It was accepted, so UCF got on another shot, and they made the field goal. And that was actually key to the game and they were down 30-17.5, because in the second half, UCF came back, and they held down Memphis. Darrell Henderson only had like 70 yards rushing after halftime or so. They held Memphis to about 150 yards, only after like 120 really after halftime. And UCF came all the way back to win 31-30. And it was way crazier than that. I can go in a little bit to this. They had twice, UCF went for a 4th and 1 from their own side of the field. The first time was from their own 29-yard line, which Taj McGowan, the running back, he went 71 yards for a touchdown. Then with like 3 minutes left in the game, they went for a 4th and 1 again on their own side of the field. UCF did, and they actually got it, which was really significant because of what transpired after that. There's about 1:09 left or something in the game. They had to punt to Memphis. Memphis started at their 15-yard line, but the first play was a pass that took them out to midfield. They actually got right at the edge of field goal range, and with 28 seconds left, that's when shit went nuts. So first, Memphis was out of timeouts, and that's key. They were out of timeouts. Memphis, one of their offensive linemen, had a false start. In college, if you have a false start, or I think most offensive penalties, but at least a false start with under a minute left, you either have the option of taking a timeout, or if you can't or don't take the timeout, there's a 10-second runoff, which means the clock goes down 10 seconds. At this point, there's 28 seconds in the game. They go down to 18, and this is significant. Because they hadn't stopped the clock, it went down to 18. The clock starts rolling at the ready for play. The quarterback for Memphis, he kind of dances around a little bit, trying to find some time. He actually does complete the pass across the middle, but a few factors happen here. In college, if you get a first down, the clock stops momentarily for this chains reset. It was not a first down. If you go out of bounds, the clock stops. The player caught the ball in bounds, did not go out of bounds. Memphis did not have a timeout, and as soon as he caught the ball and hit the ground, there was only 5 seconds left in the game, and that was not enough time for Memphis to set up, so the time just ran out. Like, they did not even get a chance for a last-second field goal. It was a crazy back-and-forth game. It was a lot of fun to watch. It was super nerve-wracking for UCF, super heartbreaking for Memphis, super awesome for everybody else that probably watched that game that didn't have a rooting interest. The quarterback for Memphis, Brady White, 17-29, 209 yards, ran for a touchdown. Darrell Henderson ended up with 199 yards and a touchdown. UCF, Mackenzie Milton, the quarterback, 17-29 for 296, one touchdown pass, and ran for what ended up being the winning touchdown. Gabriel Davis, wide receiver, 6 catches, 128 yards, and a touchdown. And just like I said, a day they survived. When everybody else lost, UCF survived. Wisconsin Badgers and the Michigan Wolverines, that's where game day was, and this was not much of a game on this day. Michigan killed them 38-13. They pretty much just... Alex Hornibrook at quarterback was 7 of 20 for 100 yards, 2 interceptions. Jonathan Taylor, he got his yards. He had 101 yards, but they didn't really do a whole lot with it. Michigan's quarterback Shea Patterson had a good overall game, 14 of 24 or 14 of 21 for 124 yards passing, which is really not a lot. But he actually ran for 90 yards and a touchdown. Karan Higdon at running back, who I kind of shouted out, he was the top 20 rusher. He ran for 105 yards and a touchdown. They had a pick 6 in the game. And Michigan had a huge win, both statistically. They beat them by, 25? And many people thought would be a slugfest at most. Somebody might get to 20, but Michigan showed they might be a decent team this year. Alright, the Gators took on Vanderbilt, and this was one of those other comebacks. And Florida was down 21-3 at one point in this game. They came all the way back to win 37-27. So USF on Friday night, South Florida, they were down 14, they won. UCF was down 30-14 at one point, they won. Gators down 21-3 at one point, they won. It was just about the comebacks and the upsets and the surviving, and that's pretty much what happened all day long. Vanderbilt, Keyshawn Vaughn, he was huge early in the game. He had 7 carries for 56 yards. He had one catch, but it was a 75-yard touchdown reception. He was going off on the Gators, but he got hurt, which I don't like to see players get hurt, but it might have been fortunate for the Gators because pretty much after he got hurt, Vanderbilt couldn't do a whole lot more on offense. Felipe Franks for Florida was 19-29, 284 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a stupid play call, a pick. He threw an interception inside the 5, but a dumb play call in my opinion. They did have 2 guys go over 100 yards rushing for the Gators. LaMichael Pirine, 121 and a touchdown, and Jordan Scarlett, 113 and a touchdown. And the Gators were able to come from behind and win that. Miami Hurricanes, another upset. They were ranked 16th. They went into Virginia. Virginia won 16-13. Virginia had a defensive game. Neither team did really a whole shitload on offense to really speak of. I mean, the quarterback for Virginia was 12 of 21 and threw 3 interceptions. And yet somehow they won. Their defense played really good. Miami's offense did not play good. And it was just an upset special today. Another upset, Colorado Buffaloes ranked 19th facing the USC Trojans. And USC won 31-20, moving Colorado to 0-13 all-time versus USC. That's right. The University of Colorado has never beaten the USC Trojans in their history, and that continues for a little bit longer. Quarterback JT Daniels for USC, 17 or 34, 272, 3 touchdowns. He did throw 2 interceptions, which is not very good. They didn't run for anything. 62 yards as a team. Michael Pittman Jr., 5 catches, 144, and 2 touchdowns. Their cornerback for USC is Gene Harris. He had an interception return for a touchdown, and it's the 3rd pick 6 of his career, which is actually ties a school record. So if he gets one more sometime this year, he'll have that school record. The nation's leader in receiving yards per game, Laviska Shenault for Colorado. He was kind of held in check. He got hurt a little bit later. He actually had a 49-yard touchdown run earlier in the game at Wildcat. He had 9 catches for 72, but they really could not get a whole lot going until it was too late. Another upset. Tennessee Volunteers took down the number 21 ranked Auburn Tigers 30-24, which that's kind of surprised me. Auburn's kind of been mediocre, but Tennessee's looked pretty bad. But give them credit where credit's due. Jarrett Garantano for Tennessee was 21 of 32 for 328, 2 touchdowns and no picks. He had a really good game. Auburn, their quarterback Jarrett Stidham, he threw for 322, 2 touchdowns, but he had 2 picks, and I think he fumbled at one point. And like I said, upset special. Tennessee won. All right, Texas A&M, they survived. They were ranked 22nd, taking on South Carolina Gamecocks. Texas A&M won 26-23. A&M was actually up 16-0 in the game, and South Carolina came back to tie it 16-all. But then A&M was able to put on a little bit more and survive that win. Start with South Carolina. Jake Bentley, 17 of 35, 223, 3 touchdowns and a pick. He helped bring them back. Kellen Mond, the Texas A&M quarterback, had a really, really good game. 25 of 37, 353 and a touchdown. Travion Williams didn't have a big game statistically. He's one of the best running backs in the nation, in my opinion, for A&M. But they had two guys go over 100 yards receiving. Tight end Jay Sternberger, 7 catches, 145 and a touchdown. And Courtney Davis, 9 catches, 127 as A&M wins that. All right, Rutgers Scarlet Knights take on the Maryland Terrapins. Maryland, it was all Maryland. 34-7 they won. Kasim Hill, quarterback, he was only 8 of 17 for 76 yards, but he had 3 touchdown passes. Running back Ty Johnson, he only had 9 carries, but it went for 132 yards and a touchdown. And now he's 4th in Maryland history in all-purpose yards and rushing yards. So congrats to him, and he'll probably break some more records. Rutgers was shit. Their quarterback, Artur Satowski, is a freshman, and he's terrible. He was 2 of 16 for 8 yards. He threw 4 interceptions. Maryland had 5 as a team. But he had more interceptions than completions. That's freaking terrible. The only good thing I can say for Rutgers is their running back, Isaiah Pacheco. He did run for 107 yards and a touchdown. That's about it. They were shit. Alright, Iowa Hawkeyes took on the Indiana Hoosiers, and it was all Iowa, and lots of good stuff to say about their quarterback and their tight ends. Iowa won 42-16. Nate Stanley, quarterback for Iowa, all he did was pass for 320 yards and 6 touchdowns. It was fine. They had two guys go over 100 yards, and both were tight ends. Iowa's known for their tight end history. T.J. Hawkinson, 4 catches, 107, 2 touchdowns. Noah Fant, 4 catches, 101 and a touchdown. And Noah Fant is actually 4th in Iowa history in touchdown receptions with 18 in his career. Not just as a tight end, just period in their history. Not a lot to say about Indiana. They just couldn't do a whole lot. Nebraska Cornhuskers. They took on Northwestern. I picked Nebraska to win because even though they went into the game 0-5, they probably should have and could have easily won at least 3 of them or whatever, and they almost did. They were up by 10 points at one point in this game. They're up 31-24. Then with under 2 minutes left in the game, Northwestern, all they did was go 99 yards to tie the game, go to overtime, where Northwestern actually won 34-31 in overtime, dropping Nebraska to 0-6 for the first time in the history of that school. Quarterback for Northwestern, Clayton Thorson, was 41 of 64 for 455 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks. Flynn Nagel had an amazing game, 12 catches, 220 yards, and 2 touchdowns himself. And then even Nebraska freshman quarterback Adrian Martinez is a good player. 25 of 35, 251. Touchdown. He did throw 2 picks, but he had them going. Divine Ozigbo, running back, 22 carries, 159 yards, and 2 touchdowns. They could not win. I don't know what happened. All right, another upset of the day. Oklahoma State Cowboys took on the Kansas State Wildcats. Neither team was ranked, but Oklahoma State was pretty big favorite. They have a good offense. Kansas State's kind of struggled this year, but I kind of been saying all year, Kansas State's one of those teams where they don't always look great, and they kind of sneak into bowls at get 6 wins or 7 wins, and then they'll win 1 or 2 games a year where they shouldn't, and that was this game. Kansas State killed Oklahoma, 31-12. Alex Barnes went off for 181 yards and 4 touchdown rushes for them. Oklahoma State, normally they have at least something to say with their offense, but the quarterback, Taylor Cornelius, 184 yards, 2 interceptions. Justice Hill, one of the best running backs in the country, I think, was held to 41 yards and didn't score, which snapped his 12-game scoring streak. They didn't even have a guy go over 100 yards. It was just all Kansas State in that game. All right, the Akron Zigs took on the Buffalo Bulls, and one of the best stories of the year, Buffalo, man, they won 24-6. They are 6-1 and bowl eligible, and they are 6-1 for the first time in their school history since 1959. So doing some math, that's 59 years ago. That's a long time ago, and they're doing really well. Tyree Jackson, a quarterback, 212, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. KJ Osborne. So going into the year, Anthony Johnson was the best receiver on Buffalo, one of the best in the country. Anthony Johnson's kind of been hurt, and KJ Osborne's kind of really taken over. He had 6 catches, 116 yards, and he'll probably get 1,000 yards by the end of the year. And Buffalo just keeps rolling. Toledo Rockets and Eastern Michigan. This was a bit of an upset in my opinion. Toledo's usually one of the best teams in the MAC, but Eastern Michigan, I've been saying for the last 2 years, they've over the last 2 seasons they've lost like 10 or 11 games by 1 score or less, including a few this year. And this one, Eastern Michigan went off to a huge lead. They were up 28-3. Toledo came all the way back to make it 28-26, but Eastern Michigan actually stopped the 2-point conversion to tie, and Eastern Michigan ended up winning 28-26. Their quarterbacks, they don't do a whole lot of passing, but Mike Glass III, he ran for 125 yards and 2 touchdowns. They ran for 229 yards as a team. Mitchell Guadani for Toledo, he's usually a pretty good passer, but he actually ran for 137 yards himself. He had a touchdown run and a touchdown touchdown pass to get them back in, but Eastern Michigan actually gets the win with that. All right, the Duke Blue Devils took on the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, and it was an even game, and then at one point, with less than 3 minutes in the third quarter, Georgia Tech lost 3 fumbles, and Duke capitalized on all 3 of them, and Duke ended up winning 28-14. Quarterback Daniel Jones, 17 of 27, 206, 3 touchdowns, and a pick. Running back Deion Jackson ran for 98 yards. Georgia Tech, they ran for 229 as a team, but it was actually a lot. Those rushing yards were much lower than their average or triple option team, so they run for about 350 a game or so. So Duke's defense actually played really well, and they're surprisingly 5-1. Louisville Cardinals took on the Boston College Eagles, and Boston College is out without A.J. Dillon, but they just kind of plug in whoever they want at running back. They had 2 guys go over 100 yards. David Bailey, 112 and a touchdown rushing. Ben Glines, 107 and a touchdown rushing. Anthony Brown was solid at quarterback, which they didn't need him to do a whole lot. He was 16 of 22, 179 and a touchdown. Louisville didn't have a lot going. They scored some. It was 38-20, but it was pretty much Boston College's game. UAB Blazers took on the Rice Owls, and kind of in a game I figured UAB won 42-0. Quarterback AJ Erdley for UAB, 11 of 17, 274, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, ran for a touchdown. But one of the coolest things though is wide receiver Xavier Bosi had 4 catches, 196 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's right, 196. One of the plays in the game was a school record tying for UAB 95-yard touchdown touchdown throw from AJ Erdley to Xavier Bosi, and it was pretty much the highlight of that kind of game there. All right, a little bit of an upset here. Troy Trojans, one of the best teams in the Sun Belt, taking on the Liberty Flames. They're moving up to 1A in the transitional period. And Liberty actually scored a touchdown late in the game to win 22-16. Stephen Calvert, they have a really good passing game. He was 17 of 32, 238, 2 touchdowns and a pick. BJ Farrell, wide receiver, 8 catches, 101 and a touchdown. Troy, it was a close game. Their running back B.J. Smith, 20 carries, 111 yards there. But Troy just couldn't quite do it. And Liberty gets a small upset, which is good for them. Southern Miss and the North Texas Mean Green, a game I thought would be close because both teams are really good on offense, but can pass it. But North Texas, it was all of them as they won 30-7. Quarterback Mason Fine for North Texas passed for 292 and a touchdown. Their running back, actually, DeAndre Torrey, ran for 95 yards and 3 touchdowns. Jalen Guyton at wide receiver, 7 catches, 124 and a touchdown. It was pretty much all North Texas. I can call out, there are a few decent ones for Southern Miss, even though they only had 7 points. Jack Abraham at quarterback did throw for 318, a touchdown and pick. And they had 2 guys go over 100 yards receiving. Jordan Mitchell, 12 catches, 135. And Quez Watkins, one of the top 20, I think, receivers in the nation in receiving, had 7 catches, 109, and a touchdown. But it was all North Texas there. Kent State Golden Flashes taking on Miami of Ohio, and this is pretty much Miami of Ohio's game as they won 31-6. Not a whole lot to say there. They're actually 3-1 in conference, so they should very well be up for their side of the MAC. Gus Ragland, 16 of 24, 209, and a touchdown. And that's not a whole lot to say about that one. On a fun back and forth game, Western Michigan took on the Bowling Green Falcons, and it was a high scoring shootout. It was kind of what I thought it might be, because Bowling Green was only 1-5, but they have a really good passing game. And Western Michigan is kind of a good offense all the way around, and Western Michigan won 42-35. Let's start with Bowling Green. Jared Dagey threw for 379, 3 touchdowns. Scott Miller, wide receiver, 8 catches, 206 receiving yards, and 2 touchdowns. You jump over to Western Michigan. John Woodsink at quarterback was 22 of 37, 266, 2 touchdowns, and threw 2 interceptions. But it was a running game. Levante Bellamy ran for 145 yards. Jamari Bogan only ran for 75, but had 4 rushing touchdowns. And that's what helped Western Michigan win that game. Ball State. All right, this was back and forth. Ball State Cardinals took on Central Michigan, and Central Michigan has not looked very good this year, but at one point, Central Michigan was up 20-3 going into the fourth quarter, actually, but they just could not hold on to the lead as Ball State came back and won 24-23. Riley Neal, quarterback for Ball State, passed for 183 and a touchdown, ran for 2 touchdowns as well. Tommy Lazaro, quarterback, he wasn't great, 11 of 22, 127 and a touchdown, but he did run for 110 yards and a touchdown. Romello Ross ran for 111 yards in that one, but it ended up being a close game that Ball State pulled out in the end. All right, Ohio taking on Northern Illinois. This was a really close game as I thought it would be. It could be a foreshadowing of the MAC championship game. At one point, Ohio was actually up 21-9 in the fourth quarter. But Northern Illinois came back to win 24-21 partially with the help of Sutton Smith, who actually led the nation last season in sacks, and he had 2 in this game, and he's got 7 overall so far this year. Quarterback Marcus Childers for Northern Illinois, he didn't do a whole lot passing, only 145 yards passing, no touchdowns, no picks, but he ran for 169 yards and a touchdown, and they ran for 255 as a team. Ohio, Nathan Rourke at quarterback, he was really solid, 15 of 23, 275, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. They had Isaiah Cox, had 3 catches for 147 and a touchdown, but it was all, it wasn't all Northern Illinois. The fact they came back and won, and like I said, this could be a preview of the MAC championship game. It's about the game I kind of expected. All right, Temple Owls took on the Navy Midshipmen, and this one I went back and forth on because I thought it'd be close, and it was, and Temple won 24-17. Quarterback Anthony Russo for Temple was 23 of 31, 300 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Vento Bryant, 8 catches, 147 and a touchdown, and he has actually caught a pass in 42 consecutive games, which is the nation's active leader. The record is actually 54. But that's 12 off, and Vento Bryant won't get that because he's a senior. And they only have, at least 5 games left. Maybe at most, at least 5. And at most 7. So he won't get the record, but it's still a really good feat. It's a nice career for him. Navy, they ran for 270, but they're a triple option team, so they're actually pretty kind of below their average. Nelson Smith ran for 108 yards and a touchdown in a close loss. Western Kentucky Hilltoppers took on the Charlotte 49ers, and in a game I picked, I thought Charlotte would win, and I didn't think they'd blow them out, but I thought they'd win, and they blew them out. Charlotte beat the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers 40-14. They ran for 211 yards as a team. Benny LeMay, running back, ran for 121 and 2 touchdowns. They had 2 quarterbacks playing. Chris Reynolds is actually a freshman, and he's done quite well so far. They totaled 237 passing. Western Kentucky they ran for 42 yards rushing, which is not good at all. In Charlotte, they're 3-3. Maybe they can sneak into a bowl. I don't know. All right, Marshall Thundering Herd took on the Old Dominion Monarchs. It's pretty much all Marshall. Marshall. They won 42-20. Their running back Tyler King went off again, 195 yards and 2 touchdowns. Tyree Brady, their wide receiver, had 9 catches, 103 yards and a touchdown. I'll shout out Blake LaRussa, the quarterback for Old Dominion. He did pass for, he was 31 of 54, 296, 2 touchdowns and a pick, but it was all Marshall in that game as they moved to 4-2. Army is the first time ever playing San Jose State, and all Army did was drop 52. They won 52-3. They ran for 341 yards as a team. Their quarterback had a touchdown pass, but they're a triple option team, so he ran for 99 yards and 3 touchdowns himself. San Jose State really did not have anything going at all. They had a guy with 15 tackles. That's not very good. But Army moves to 4-2. Purdue Boilermakers took in the Illinois Fighting Illini. I thought this might be kind of close, but Purdue poured it on them, 46-7. Illinois was averaging over 300 rushing yards again per game, and they were only held to 69. David Blau, the quarterback for Purdue, passed for 377, 3 touchdowns and a pick. They had 2 guys go over 100 yards receiving. Isaac Zico, 5 catches, 127, 2 touchdowns. Rondell Moore, one of the best receivers, overall playmakers in the country, 4 catches, 101 and a touchdown. Running back TJ Knox went off for 150 yards himself. They ran for 227 as a team, and Purdue poured it on 46-7 there. And in a close game, as kind of I thought would be, New Mexico took on Colorado State. Both kind of mediocre. I thought it'd be a bit more high scoring than that, but Colorado State ended up winning on a last-second field goal, 20-18. KJ Carter-Samuels, quarterback for Colorado State, passed for 311 and a touchdown. Izzy Matthews, the running back, ran for 92 yards. New Mexico, Sherrod Jones was 12 of 20, 165, 2 touchdowns. It was just kind of it was a really close game, the whole time. Obviously, winning on the last-second field goal. UNLV Rebels took on Utah State. Utah State is one of the best offenses in the country, and they poured it on them. They won 59-28. Utah State did. Jordan Love, a quarterback, he's a really, really good quarterback. He was 17 of 23 for 322 yards and 5 touchdown passes with no interceptions. Jalen Green, 5 catches, 132 and a touchdown. They actually ran for 221 yards as a team. UNLV, they played okay. They had 28 points. Max Gilliam at quarterback threw for 250, 3 touchdowns and a pick. Tyleek Collins had 4 catches, 139 and a touchdown, but that was all Utah State, and now they're 5-1 and 1 game away from bowl eligibility. 1AA Alabama State took on the South Alabama Jaguars, and I figured it would be a blowout. South Alabama won 45-7. There's really not a ton to say about it. Evan North, quarterback for USA, was 12 of 15, went to 55 and a touchdown. They ran for 195. As a team, they did have a punt return for a touchdown by running back Tron Minter, and they won 45-7. All right, Louisiana Raging Cajuns took on the New Mexico State Aggies, and all Louisiana did was drop 66. They won 66-38, so New Mexico State did put up a bunch of points. Josh Atkins passed for 284 and a touchdown. Jason Huntley had 5 catches, 112 and a touchdown, and he returned a kick for a touchdown. But Louisiana, put it this way, by halftime, Louisiana had 534 yards. They had 759 total yards and 37 first downs. Both are school records for Louisiana. Andre Nunez, 19 of 25, 315, 5 touchdown passes. Elijah Mitchell, 12 carries, 107. He had 3 touchdown receptions. Ernest Patterson, 3 catches, 114 and a touchdown. And it was all Louisiana in that game. Louisiana Monroe took on the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers. This one I was way off on. I thought Coastal Carolina would win. And it was close. In the middle of the third quarter, ULM was only up 24-20. But then Louisiana Monroe ran away with it, and they won 45-20. Caleb Evans at quarterback, 16 of 22, 224, touchdown, and no interceptions, and ran for 2 touchdowns. Derek Gore, running back, ran for 147 yards and 2 touchdowns. Marcus Green had 5 catches for 111 and a touchdown. Coastal Carolina, like I said, it was close for a little bit. Marcus Outlaw, running back, ran for 104 and a touchdown. They actually ran for 272 yards as a team, which is really, really good. But it just they turned it over a few too many times, especially late, and could not win. All right, the Houston Cougars took on the East Carolina Pirates, and it was pretty much all Cougars. The final was 42-20, but at one point it's 42-6. Derek King, quarterback for Houston, passed for 209 and 2 touchdowns. And ran for a touchdown. Quarterback for East Carolina, they played a bunch of different quarterbacks. They passed for 374 yards as a team, but they had 3 different quarterbacks playing. One of the best receivers, though, in the American Athletic Conference that most people don't know about, East Carolina, is Trevon Brown. 13 catches, 153, and a touchdown. He had over 1,000 yards receiving last year, but it wasn't enough in this game. And Houston is 5-1, and they're 1 win away from bowl eligibility. All right, Virginia Tech Hokies took on the North Carolina Tar Heels, and this was almost a bit of an upset. North Carolina, this is what happened. North Carolina was up 19-14, and they were driving to score. North Carolina was literally, the running back he jumped, and he was about to get over, and somebody popped the ball out from him, and Virginia Tech recovered at their own 2-yard line, and this was in the 4th quarter. And all Virginia Tech did was go 98 yards for the game-winning touchdown with very little time left, almost like 9 seconds left. On the drive, it was an 18-play drive. They converted 3 third downs and a 4th and 9 with the running back, with quarterback Ryan Willis running for it. He was 20 of 36, 221, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. This is why they were kind of in it. But Virginia Tech had a really close win. North Carolina had a heartbreaking loss. Their running back for North Carolina, Michael Carter, ran for 165. Their wide receiver, Carl Tucker, had 2 catches, but for 123. One was an 80-yarder, and the other was a 43-yarder. They had like 4 different quarterbacks playing, but they all played pretty well, and they almost won, but Virginia Tech was able to survive. Louisiana Tech Bulldogs took on the UTSA Roadrunners, and it was all Bulldogs. They won 31-3. Quarterback Jamar Smith threw for 309 and a touchdown. Nothing really for UTSA themselves. It was pretty much just all like they had 3 rushing touchdowns, but they only ran for 75 yards as a team. Louisiana Tech did, but it was enough to win. All right, UCLA took on Cal, and I got this one right. UCLA was 0-5, and I thought they'd beat Cal, and they killed them 37-7. Quarterback Dorian Thompson-Robinson, he was 13-15 for 141, which is great. Joshua Kelly, running back though, ran for 157 and 3 touchdowns. This is his 3rd game in a row with over 100 yards rushing. In fact, with over 124 yards rushing, he's really coming on. And I think the future is bright for him. And the quarterback he's not bad himself. He's a freshman and playing pretty decently. Cal couldn't really get a whole lot going. Quarterback Brandon McElwain had 2 interceptions and he fumbled once. And UCLA, they were to get their first win of the year under Chip Kelly. Ole Miss and Arkansas in a high-scoring shootout. Arkansas was up late in the game, or not late. They were up at one point. I think it was 28-10. And Ole Miss came roaring back 37-33. Quarterback Jordan Ta'amu had like about 530 something yards of offense. He passed for 387 and 2 touchdowns. He ran for 141 and a touchdown and brought them all the way back. Arkansas's credit, their quarterbacks actually played decent this game. They put up 33 points. Rakeem Boyd, running back, had 7 carries for 109 yards and a touchdown, but it wasn't enough. They couldn't hold Ole Miss's offense down long enough. Middle Tennessee State Blue Raiders took on the Florida International Golden Panthers, and this was a back-and-forth game. Florida International ended up winning 24-21. Quarterback Brent Stockstill for Middle Tennessee, who I was touting, he actually got hurt early in the 2nd quarter, so their backup, Ashley O'Hara, came in and he didn't do a lot passing, but he ran for 85 yards himself and a touchdown. And he actually had a chance late in the game. They were only down 24-21. He took a shot into the end zone, and it was intercepted, and that sealed the game for Florida International. FIU's quarterback James Morgan was 27 or 36, 311 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. C.J. Wharton, 5 catches, 113, and a touchdown. And FIU, they're 4-2, and they were able to win. All right, the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors took on the BYU Cougars, and I thought Hawaii would win. Cole McDonald did play at quarterback for Hawaii, but it was all BYU. BYU won 49-23. They ran for 280 yards as a team. They had a freshman quarterback start, Zach Wilson. He threw for 194, 3 touchdowns. It's only 1 pick. He also ran for another touchdown. They were pretty much able to slow down Hawaii's pass offense. Cole McDonald did throw for 248, 2 touchdowns and a pick, but it wasn't enough, and BYU gets a much needed win for them there. All right, Wyoming Cowboys took on the Fresno State Bulldogs, and this kind of went about what I expected. Both defense are pretty good, but Fresno State's offense is like a top 30 to 40 team. Wyoming's offense is they don't really have anybody. They have a running back in Nico Evans, who's one of the top nation's leaders in rushing, but he only had 58 yards rushing. Fresno State quarterback Marcus McMaryion, he had a really, really good game. He passed for 287 and 2 touchdowns, ran 53 and 2 touchdowns, and Fresno State won that one 27-3. The final game from Saturday, Boise State Broncos took on the Nevada Wolfpack, and it was a close game. I thought it would be. Both offenses are pretty good, but Boise State ended up with the win only 31-27. Quarterback Brett Ripien, he was kind of off. His game, he was 28 of 38 for 299, 2 touchdowns, but he threw 3 interceptions, which is not like him. Ty Ganji at quarterback for Nevada, he was hurt last week. He came back and passed for 304 and 2 touchdowns. In this one, McLean Mannix at wide receiver had 4 catches for 109 yards and a touchdown. And really, one of the pivotal plays of the game, when the changing game plays of the game, Nevada was up 10-7. They took a deep shot downfield. Boise State actually intercepted the ball at the 1-yard line, and then the guy returned it 99 yards for the touchdown to take the lead. And so that was, it's kind of a shame that one quarterback throws 3 interceptions and one throws 1 interception, but that one is the one that actually ended up pretty much costing them the game in the end. I will say this, Boise State, John Hightower, he's actually a wide receiver, but Boise State's known for trick plays. It's not much of a trick play anymore, but he actually ran the ball, and he had an 88-yard touchdown run, which ties for the longest play from scrimmage in Boise State history, which is kind of a surprise because Boise State's known for their offense forever, at least the last almost 20 years. And so congrats to him for that. So those are my Week 7 reviews. Check out all my other videos. My rant earlier, I'm about to do my stat attack. Go like, subscribe, share our videos. Go to my Facebook page, tweet, whatever else. Peace.